Welcome to the second video in the Intro to LSAT video. My name is Ravi. I've been an instructor at LSATMax since 2018. Throughout LSATMax's curriculum, I'll be teaching you a bunch of different concepts. Some of these concepts are a little challenging, but today, they're throwing me a softball. Today, I just have to teach you how the LSAT is scored. There are actually two different LSAT scores you should care about: your raw score and your scaled score. Now, when people talk about their LSAT scores, they almost always refer to their scaled score. That's a number between 120 and 180, 120 being the lowest possible score, and 180 being the highest. Here are a few notable scores between those extremes. But how do you earn these scores? That's where the second type of score comes into play: your raw score. Your raw score simply refers to the number of multiple choice questions you answer correctly. There's no guessing penalty or anything like that. Your raw score doesn't care if you answer the question correctly through logical acuity or dumb luck. So always make a selection on every LSAT question, even if you aren't confident in the answer or don't have time to make an honest attempt. The current version of the LSAT typically includes 75 scored questions. Here's how the raw scores are converted into scaled scores between 150 and 180 on your average run-of-the-mill LSAT. This isn't to say that every test will be scored this way. Some LSATs are a little harder than others, and that's reflected in this score conversion. If an LSAT is a little more difficult than usual, you won't have to answer as many questions correctly to earn a given scaled score. If an LSAT is a little easier than usual, you'll have to answer more questions correctly. There are a few other scores that appear on the official LSAT score report, like your percentile score and your score band. But for our purposes, we only need to focus on the raw and scaled scores. So, that is how the LSAT is scored. But that raises the third question: what's a good LSAT score? The answer to that question depends entirely on where you want to go to law school. Law schools care the most about their applicants' LSAT scores. Well, I should be careful there. We'll soon learn that phrases like the most are suspect on the LSAT. I suppose if you were a Nobel Prize winner or a convicted embezzler, law schools might care about that a bit more than your LSAT score. But assuming those don't apply to you, your LSAT score will matter most. So, if you want these law schools to seriously consider your application, you need an LSAT score that, at minimum, doesn't get your application thrown in the trash bin. What LSAT score will allow your application to avoid that fate? Pretty much every law school posts their incoming classes' median LSAT scores on their websites. You can Google this information or go to the American Bar Association's website to see the aggregated data. You'll generally find 3 median LSAT scores posted by each school: the incoming class's 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile LSAT scores. If you want a good chance of getting accepted to that school, aim for a score between the 25th and 75th percentile medians. You can also use your GPA to set a more precise goal. You can look up the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile GPAs for each school's incoming class. If your GPA is between the 25th and 50th percentile GPA, you might want to aim for an LSAT score that's closer to the 75th percentile than the 25th percentile. If your GPA is below the 25th percentile GPA, you'll want to aim for an LSAT score that's above the 75th percentile. Now, those LSAT scores will give you a good shot of getting into your dream school. If you want to get into those law schools and reduce the cost of attending that law school, you'll want to aim above that 75th percentile score. Law schools want to raise their median LSAT scores for a whole bunch of reasons, so they're willing to pay for high LSAT scores that will elevate their medians. They pay for those scores in the form of big bags of merit-based scholarships. Sometimes they'll offer half or even the full cost of tuition. So, you'll need to do a little research and set a target score for yourself. Maybe you want to start that research now. If so, go forth. I'll be here, patiently waiting for you to come back. If you have that target score in mind, that's great. I'm going to put up a chart right now that will show you what that target score means for you, practically speaking. Do you see the percentage next to your target score? Yes? Okay, good. Memorize that percentage. Write it down and post it on your wall or your manifestation board or whatever. That percentage is now your goal. In order to achieve your target score on your real official LSAT, you'll need to answer approximately that percentage of questions correctly. So, this percentage is now your benchmark as you progress through your study journey. You'll want to make sure you're answering that percentage of questions correctly in each stage of your study plan. And that brings us to the fourth question you probably have. How should I study for the LSAT? I'm going to tag in another LSATMax instructor for that one. My mission today has ended, but I enjoyed our brief time together, and we'll chat again in future video lessons. See you next time.